Welcome to Practical AI, everybody. My name is Jeff Northrup. This is Peter Lynn. Today, we are going to talk about Elon Musk's statement that we need a Ministry of AI or a Department of AI in the federal government. Peter, what's your first initial thoughts on this sort of central regulating power of the government over AI?
So when I read the article, my first thought was about what other agencies at the federal level that do a good job. And the first thought I had was the cybersecurity agency that's supposed to provide guidance and make sure that computer systems are secure, except that every report that comes out, most of the agencies score a C or below. So it doesn't give me much hope.
Okay, well, let's pull up this article because a Department of AI. So here, right out of the gate, Musk is kind of championing this idea. What do you think's behind Musk, who kind of waffles between this sort of libertarian free speech guy to the sort of centralized power government censorship guy?
My take on it is Elon is behind, so his company is kind of trying to play catch up to OpenAI and Microsoft. And so for him, regulation is a great way to slow the competition down and catch up. That's my take.
Interesting. I also noticed, well, one of my favorite quotes out of there was Musk praising Schumer and other senators for organizing the conference and adding this meeting may go down in history as being important for the future of civilization. There seems to be a heavy amount of catastrophizing there, and I would guess that both climate change and nuclear Armageddon would have something to say about AI's prominence in that role of ending civilization.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fear, uncertainty, doubt. So, which, if I think back to the U.S. history, I mean, that's often used as a way to kind of rope a dope and distract people while someone else is taking control of everything else. So,
Yeah,
skeptical of that effort because one, it's not practical to build a ministry of AI just from a human resource perspective. Like, are there 1,000 people that could do this job? And the answer is no.
yeah, I think let's just say this. I think both sides of the aisle have learned a lot from Dick Cheney's Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
quote in there was Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer added, "We came out of the room exhilarated." He said he asked the crowd, assembled from the worlds of business, civil rights, defense, labor, and the arts, if government needed to play a role in regulating AI. And, quote, every single person raised their hand.
Yeah, that to me is a sign that it's a bad idea.
You and I are in agreement there.
Yeah. So like I remember growing up in LA when they're building new freeways, there were articles about certain people that didn't want basically their houses were in the planned path of the new freeway. And they were forced to sell through eminent domain.
Mm,
Old couples like, this is my home. I've lived here for 50 years. I don't want to move.
right.
But like, there's a new highway and you have to move. We're on agreement. It's like, well, no, we're not on agreement. I want to
Yeah.
stay in my house.
Who's we, right? Another good one was this week's gathering was, well, you kind of addressed this early step that could be a long process as Washington tries to get its arms around the new technology. Yeah, what has Washington ever done really, really well? I mean, you mentioned their failure on just department level security.
Yeah,
Um,
right. And this is highly technical. So, I mean, first of all, who should lead it? I mean, if we look at the Department of Cybersecurity, it's gone through a couple of different heads. And every time the heads left, they complained that it was too hard to get things moving because of there's just a lot of stiction to progress. Well, AI is moving way too fast. And if you've got a federal agency with a lot of stiction, like you're going through mud, then you're not going to be useful.
Well, useful, yeah. I mean, useful in terms that you and I would would apply. Although, to your point, maybe their use is a little bit more malicious, and that is to apply that same viscosity to everyone else that's trying to catch up in this arms race for AI, right?
Yeah, I mean it's I mean just from a software perspective, being an open source fan, regulation historically has been used to block people out to kind of support the monopolies because they're the ones greasing the ponds and they're spending billions lobbying politicians across both aisles.
Yeah.
So it's like, yep, we just buy all the politicians and we get the laws we want.
The article listed a bunch of the CEOs of some of the big corps and philanthropists like Gates and Altman and these guys. It didn't mention any of the names of the people in the Department of Defense or their defense contractors.
Right.
I would think that those people are probably already at some level or ahead of where the corporate interests are in AI. And I'm also guessing that whatever's regulated, they would sort of be immune to it.
That's usually the case. I mean, if we look back at drone technology, that stuff has been in development and has been deployed for about 2 decades now. So, yeah, clearly the Pentagon and DARPA have people working on AI machine learning, like the drones today that are used. They're they can fly autonomously, and then a Air Force pilot can then take over. My understanding is when they actually fire a missile to destroy a target, that actually requires a human person to do it because the chain of command has to say yes, go ahead and execute. But in terms of like actually flying and navigating and staying under the radar and all that, most of it is actually autonomous.
Yeah, they're like when I saw the title on that article, it reeked of like ulterior motives. And I don't know, nothing you've said today convinces me otherwise. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, really, open source is kind of where it needs to go. It needs to be in more hands. It needs to have more people. We need to demystify it. We need to get people to understand it, use it, and that way that's the best way to prevent it being held up in the hands of a few people. Just like books used to be something that only the wealthy or kings or the clergy had until the Gutenberg press was invented, and then all of a sudden knowledge exploded, and then we had the Renaissance.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think that's it's very well said. I think there is this overarching catastrophizing and fear, porning of this concept of safety and that the centralization, the monolithing will save us. When in fact, just the opposite might be true, right? Get this in the hand as many people as possible and
Yeah.
let the market protect us.
Yeah, I mean, I think really it shouldn't be the government. It should be multiple independent companies that are validating. So there should be some in Europe, there should be some in the US, should be some in Asia, and they should be free to validate and check, hey, does your model perform and do what you claim it does? And then everyone should be able to see those results. And it should be something that Microsoft can't control, something that OpenAI can't control. Because the minute they have control over it, they can change the tests to show that it's all good, which we don't want.
or at least it fits what their version of success or alignment looks like, which may not align with other people's definitions.
Yeah, and it definitely won't, because everyone's different.
Right. Good. Well, this is a fun topic. My guess is they're full steam ahead on some sort of regulation on this, and something will happen. But in the meantime, hopefully we can get enough of an open source sort of mentality out there where AI can protect itself just through the sort of federating or democratization of this.
Yep, that's the hope.
Good. Well, thanks, Peter. This is a good discussion. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and leave any comments below. We'll try to put stuff in the description box as well, any links, including this article. Take care, everybody.